What happens when a producer-director for over 40 years becomes a bed and breakfast owner? Craig D. Forrest gives us the scoop. And how does an LA thrift shop meet the needs of their community? New Associate District Supervisor of the Foursquare District, Grace Kladik, shares how. And it all starts now on A New Thing Live.
Well, hello and welcome to A New Thing Live. I'm so glad that you're with us tonight. My name is Cindy Galley, and I have the honor and the privilege, and I say that every week because it truly is. I'm so humbled to be able to be the host of this new show. We're not even a year yet. We've had so much fun, but this is an incredible show that we have just for you, to strengthen you, to encourage you, to build your faith, to bring you hope. For not just for the dreams that are in your heart, but just regarding life. You know, we have some wonderful people that come, everyday people. We have leaders that come on here. We have entrepreneurs that come on here, people that have just impacted in their spheres of influence. And so we're so glad that you're with us today. It's July 12. I cannot believe it. I keep saying I can't believe how much into the year. We're already halfway past the year. We're past the halfway mark. This is so crazy to me. But it's July 12th, and it's a wonderful month to be celebrating. I know a lot of you guys are taking your summer vacation, spending time with your family. Things are opening up again, which is beautiful. In fact, as you're watching this, I myself am in Bend, Oregon, celebrating a dear, dear friend of mine for years. For years, I met her when I was 4 years old-ish. And so she's been my longest standing friend for sure. In 2 years, we will have been friends for 50 years. Don't do the math. But anyway, we're spending time in Bend in Sun River, Oregon, celebrating her daughter's wedding. And so just a beautiful, beautiful time. And you know we love birthdays here at A New Thing Live. So I'm going to share with you a birthday of a very special person in my life. It's my baby sister. She had a big birthday. I won't tell you which birthday it was, but happy birthday to you, Susie. I love you so much. I'm so proud of you. Let's see if we can get that picture up on the screen. I hope we have it. But anyway, you always know that I always say, when I grow up, I want to be just like Susie. And so happy birthday to you. Do we have that? I hope we have it. It's a yellow slide that says happy birthday. Anyway, she's out in Wisconsin in Madison. And, you know, I'm out here in California. I do get to see my family once, sometimes twice a year, just depending. Even during the pandemic, I was able to spend some time with them. And so very happy birthday to you. She's an incredible woman. She co-pastors with her husband. She's a chaplain with the Fitchburg Police and the fire department. I mean, this girl is making things happen. And she's a mom, just an incredible woman, doing a lot of wonderful things and impacting and shepherding a lot of people. So I've said it before and I'll say it again. When I grow up, I want to be just like you, Sue. Happy birthday. Okay. So, you know, we also like to share some of the national things that are happening. And this time around, this week, it's just some fun things that we have going on. Okay, so let me see if I'm getting this right. It's National Colored Eyes Day. So I don't know if you know any people that have two different colors. I believe Jane Seymour is one of those. I don't know a whole lot of people personally, but I love that she's got two different color eyes. She's a beautiful woman. She's an incredible actress. So today is National Colored Eyes Day. Also, it's National Simplicity Day. Who can use more simplicity in their life? Me, right here. I need to simplify some things. I need National Simplicity Day to be in my garage. So National Simplicity Day. So whatever that is for you, then I'm just saying, then let's make things a little simple. We still have 5.5 months left to work on it. I really wanted to be simplified in my garage. That was really my prayer. That was my heart's desire for my birthday. I wanted to be able to pull into one of the sides of my garage. That really was the only thing I wanted for my birthday. And it did not happen. So now I'm pushing it back and saying, okay, by the fall, maybe November, maybe by Thanksgiving, maybe by Black Friday, if I could pull my car into the garage and park it in there, I will be so happy. So I'm not just taking on this National Simplicity Day. I'm saying for me, it's going to be National Simplicity rest of the year until I can get my car in the garage. So that's just me. That's what I'm committing to. And also, paper or plastic. Today is also National Paper Bag Day. And, with all of the plastic, it's a problem. You see the plastic in the ocean, and it's just so easy just for people to throw in the litter, which we shouldn't be littering to begin with. But some people do. Maybe after watching this show, maybe they'll say, okay, you know what? I'm going to stop littering, because it really does affect some of the species in the ocean. Some of them swallow the plastic water bottles. They swallow the plastic paper and plastic bags, and it's just really bad for them. Some of them have died. And so I'm just celebrating National Paper Bag Day. I do believe in paper bags. I also believe in recycled bags as well. But if you have to do paper or plastic, then just do paper. Paper is the way to go. There's a lot of benefits to us doing paper. So that is what we're looking at today on the 12th of July. I do hope wherever you're at that things are well. We're still coming out of this pandemic. And of course, you and your families and your loved ones are of extreme importance to our team. We do pray for you. We don't even know you, but we do pray for everyone that watches our show. We want the best for you. We're in your corner. We always say to you guys, hey, if there's anything that you have, if you have a need, if you have a prayer request, please do send it to us at hello@anewthinglive.com. Because we want you to know you're not alone. Sometimes we all handle stuff differently. We walk through things differently. But what we want you to know to New Thing Live is you are not alone. And you don't have to go through this alone. So we love you. We're for you. We're in your corner. And we want you to go pick your paper over plastic. Paper bags, paper bags, paper bags. Okay. So speaking of paper bags, I'm super excited about tonight's first guest. I'm not going to say her name just yet, but whether it's loving the city or her family or the new district that she now leads, tonight's first guest, I would call her a powerhouse woman. She is a powerhouse woman. She serves as the associate supervisor with helping to grow our leaders of the denomination to work in collaborative ways and in partnership and supporting the pastors and the leaders of our specific denomination. She also co-leads pastoring Vintage Faith Culver City in Los Angeles with her husband, Matt. She has served in the past as a youth pastor, as a church planter, as a missionary to Australia. I'm a terrible, I do those accents terribly, so I should not have done that. But her heart is to equip and release women. And she's just this incredible, incredible leader. I've had the opportunity and the privilege of meeting her once in person and then quite a few times digitally since then. Her heart really is to reach people beyond the local walls of church, which I am all about that. She's helped to launch a thrift store, a coffee shop, a pop-up pantry, and a creative space to serve her community every day of the week. Would you please help me welcome Grace Kladik to A New Thing Live? Grace Kladik. Hi, my friend. How are you?
Good. How are you? This is so fun. Thanks for having me.
Oh my goodness. Of course. I'm so glad to have you on here. We're honored. We're blessed. We're excited. We're thrilled. And I just have to say, of course, I saw an article years ago in Foursquare, and it's what led me to your thrift shop was, oh my goodness, there's a thrift shop in Culver City, because I used to live in that area right off of Venice Beach, more on the pick fair side of things.
Nice.
But I worked at Sony Pictures right there in Culver City, and I told my dear friend Janae, we have to go to this thrift shop. Like, I love thrift shops in LA, but it's a Foursquare church that owns it. And it's in my old stomping grounds. And then I had the opportunity and privilege of meeting you. And I want to say that was probably in 2015, maybe 2016. I think we even have a picture of when we met.
Oh my
Can
goodness.
we? Yeah, there we go.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
That is amazing. And that little girl was probably, I don't know, 2 or 3 years old it's with me. That's my firstborn Polly, and she is 9 going into 4th grade this year. So
Oh my God.
I'm telling you what, that mom in that picture had no idea what was coming towards her in the next few years. So that is great. What made us even take a picture? It's meant to be. It is meant to be.
Right. I know. I know, it's so crazy. Well, and the thing is too, when the newsletters come in and the emails, and so I'm like, oh, I want to see what's going on with our district, because of course there's been some transition and some changes. And so, I'm looking at all the different individuals, and I'm like, Grace Kladik. I'm like, I know her. I'm like, I think we took a picture together.
You had to go in the archives for that one. You were like, I know this girl. I am going to find her. You're scrolling for a few days.
Yeah. Scroll. Well, thankfully now, I understand how iPhone does kind of have that ability to organize, and you can go by year.
Yes.
But even then, sometimes it's hard because I didn't remember what year that was. But so great to have you on here, woman of God. And you are moving and shaking. You're doing so many things right now. I'm just like, I can't hardly keep in touch and keep up with all the things that you're doing. Let's see. I'm like, okay, you're a wife, you're a mom to 3 beautiful kids. You pastor church with your husband. And now you've gracefully and graciously stepped into this new role as Associate District Supervisor, Foursquare Western District. How are you doing?
I'm tired. Are you kidding me? I was just napping a second ago. No. I went to the chiropractor to get just an adjustment. And I was face down for probably a minute. I was out. I'm like, I must be tired. I came for an adjustment and I got a nap instead. I'm doing good. Like any new season, it takes a minute. And so I'm giving myself, the grace. I know it's weird that my name is Grace, but I'm giving myself the grace to get through this season and trusting that the Lord called me into this place. And so He's going to give me everything I need to succeed. And where I don't know and I don't have the answers, I'm just going, Holy Spirit, I need your answers. I need your fuel. I need your power. And so there's nothing like that in a new season that we can walk into, and we're just so reliant on the Lord. I don't want to leave that place ever of needing to be so reliant on Him. But these new seasons kind of remind us, hey, cannot do this on your own. You didn't get here on your own. So don't forget, you still need the Lord, right?
Wow. Yes, that is so good. We can look going back to the Bible, going back to even the Old Testament. It's so important just to remember that God is the one that appoints, and you've been appointed. And so that's such a beautiful statement that you made, to be, just to remind us that we didn't get where we are because of our own gifting. There's anointing that's involved. There's like that assignment, there's that calling, there's that separation. And so clearly, he's I'm not saying, clearly he's the one that did it for you, girl, in that way.
No, girl, yes. Yes, you can say it.
But just in the sense where, he does appoint, and it's so beautiful. When I saw that you were part of the new district leadership and associate district supervisor, I was so thrilled, because I have to say, when I first met you, I was so just in admiration of you and your husband, your ministry, the fact that you launched this thrift shop. All these things that you were doing in the heart of Los Angeles, not an easy thing to do. Right. You're right there in the hub of the entertainment capital of the world. You're blocks away from Sony Pictures and all these other studios and things out there. And yet you really wanted to make a difference. And it was it's still so obvious. But even back then, when I first met you and just saw what you guys are doing, your thrift shop is so much fun. In fact, and I don't want to get sidetracked because I do have a little bit of ADD, but I did go through the archives to find this picture of this gorgeous dress that we purchased from your store. If we have it, I'm hoping we have that. It was a St. John dress. Do we have that picture? Let me see if we have it. I'm gonna go and see if we have it just in case. And when I tell you, I think it's not here, but we'll have to get it because it's a gorgeous dress. $1 is what I paid for this St. John dress. I don't remember if it was like put everything in your bag kind of a thing. I don't even. Do you have that happen?
So we have. It started with fill the bag for $10. Any of the clothing that you can fit in that paper bag. Cindy, we're using paper over there.
Yes,
and, it's fill whatever you can. And now it's just, we did the sale one time and it was such a hit that now it's become, it's like every day is the sale. So we're known for the paper bag sale. People love it. And yes, every once in a while, a St. John's dress slips in there and we don't realize. And we've had a couple designer purses that people have bought for like $5. And then we're looking at, the young guy who has no clue. And we're like, why did you put that there and price it? He's like, I don't know, it just looked like an old bag. We're like, that was vintage Coach. Like, what? And we're like, so you don't know, but that's the best thing about a thrift store, right? Is you find those finds. So we now have like a little boutique section that we put some like cool vintage finds at and stuff. But the whole point is that you would go into a thrift store. Oh, is that it?
Yes,
Ooh.
That is it. Yes. Isn't that gorgeous?
You got
now
for
$1. $1 or however many items we put in there, maybe it was divided by $10, it would be 75 cents. But St. John, we used it here. We also used it in one of our cover girl photo shoots for our fashion magazine. We have this digital online fashion magazine, and it's just stunning. If you were to see the detail, it's just got that little open back, and then it's got these little, I'm sure they're not real diamonds, but probably cubic zirconia or whatever gorgeous. And then it's just got this little bow in the back. I mean, it's just beautiful.
So cute. Well, and that's the beauty, right? The story. There's so many God stories too within a thrift store environment. What somebody thought wasn't worth anything anymore, and I'm just going to donate this, and somebody else gets to find this treasure and bring it new life. I mean, come on. This is what God is always doing. And that's kind of the story of the thrift store, honestly. I want people to know too, that when my husband and we moved from Australia, we were missionaries there for a few years. I mean, that's not a bad place to be called to, Australia. Yeah. That's like, Lord, send me to Hawaii. I'll go, like that's not a hard one. So we weren't hating life in Australia, but we got pregnant and we had a baby. And so we said, let's go back to the States. And we started pastoring this really small little church. There was about 10 people in this church in Culver City. And I say that because sometimes we wait to do the dream in our heart until we have the money, have the resources, have all the stuff. And for us, we just looked at our community and we said, what would be good news to our city? What could we do that ensures that we're touching and having a touch point Monday through Sunday, not just waiting for someone to stumble across our church building and come into our building on a Sunday morning. Let's be real. That's not going to happen unless you invite someone, unless you're standing outside and you grab them and bring them into church. Typically, someone doesn't just kind of stumble into your building. And so we said, that's not even the point. The point isn't to get them in this building. The point is for them to meet a loving God that loves them and wants to have a relationship with them. And so how can we step outside these walls? And with our little group of people, by then it had grown a little bit. And we said, guys, what can we do to reach our community? And we had a gentleman in our church who sold on eBay, had a thriving business on eBay. But he had this heart to reach our community and to reach others. And we said, what do you think about a thrift store? It actually happened at a birthday dinner with my husband. The two of us were sitting there having birthday dinner. And I looked at him and he looked at me and we're like, what could we do to love our city better? And we thought, a thrift store. We love to go to thrift stores and find treasures. And the beautiful thing about a thrift store is the people that are in need, they could go and be resourced, but the people that have a lot have a place to give and to serve. And It's this beautiful collision of two different kind of communities coming together and serving and loving one another. Thus, Love the City Thrift Store was birthed. And it started with a handful of people and a big God. And that's what I want to say, is that if you're waiting for the money to come in and the resources, it came as we stepped forward. And now we're about, I think we're celebrating our 7th year now at Love the City. And it is a thriving business in our community. It's a known business in our community. We give a lot away. We service our houseless friends in our community with any needs that they might have. We've connected with local schools, and we have a pretty big population here of homeless youth and homeless families. And so we've partnered with them to, when they do get housing, we'll say, here's free bedding, here's a free bed, here's free furniture. Not only that, but we'll come and we'll deliver it to your house. So we've partnered with lots of companies around our community, but we're known to be a place that's open Monday through Saturday. And it's not a church, but it's a place where God dwells and he meets with his people.
Wow, that is powerful. I love that. And I didn't know all of that backstory. You know, it's one of those things where sometimes you wonder, oh, did the church come with the thrift shop? But clearly it didn't.
Yeah.
Clearly the idea was birthed. Both you and your husband were excited about doing this. It's something you're already passionate about. And I love seeing how it's grown and how it's multiplied, how it's been fruitful, how it's impacted the lives of people in need. That's one of the things, like a church, like, yes, we come together to be strengthened, and, faith comes by hearing, hearing by the word, but we are also called to meet people's needs. Mm-hmm. And it's not just the needs of people that come to our church. And that's exactly what you've done. It's what you're doing. You're living and walking this out by example. You're meeting a need. That is just so powerful, Grace. And congratulations, by the way, on your 7-year anniversary.
Yeah.
Coming up.
Yeah. Great.
That is so exciting. Well, I just have to say that if all goes well, I'm going to try and stop by there tomorrow.
Nice.
Yeah. I was like, when I was looking, going through Instagram and then looking on the website, I go, okay, I need to get back down there again. Maybe I can go tomorrow.
Yes, please. And let me know. I would love to meet up if I can.
Yes, that would be wonderful. So yeah, you've got your thrift shop. And then also, how are things going with the church? I know that, with the pandemic, some of the churches had to get creative or had to, obviously had to stop having services in person.
Yeah.
How is your church faring with COVID?
We're just now getting back in person. LA is its own little beast over here. It's very polarizing, and it's very diverse in what people feel. Like, I never thought in a million years we would fight about a piece of fabric that goes over our faces. But we are. And I'm not fighting about it, but I'm hearing all the fighting. And so it's been a really interesting place to navigate as a pastor. I think as pastors and part of my job now as the associate supervisor is that I'm hearing from so many churches and so many pastors, and we're tired. This was not a year that we sat at the beach and didn't do anything because our buildings weren't open. We had to pivot hard. We had to do things for many churches that they had never done before, which was go live and offer Zoom meetings and, meet the needs of the community in a new way. And it was exhausting. Many of us had to homeschool our children at the same time, and our own selves. We as a church, we buried people that died of COVID. We struggled with people that were upset with us that we wouldn't let them into the building when the time that they wanted. We had many people who left the church, many people who joined because we had now offered an online service. So going back is something that Matt and my husband, will say, this is like church planting. This is starting again. And I think that this is a really unique time in history. Obviously, God was not surprised by this pandemic. And I have to remind myself of that. I feel like he has set the stage for the church, that we don't so quickly want to go back to what once was, because that's gone. That's done. A year ago, what happened and who the church was and how we functioned, that time is not coming back. So how are we going to move forward? How are we going to see the new thing, the new stream in the desert, and follow that stream and follow the leading of God? And I think for us as a church, to be quite frank, when we went online, I looked at my husband, I said, thank goodness, I needed a break, and I didn't even realize it.
Wow.
And I can sit in my pajamas and I can sit with my children and watch church together. For most people, if you want to go to brunch on a Sunday and miss service, you do. You want to go away for the weekend and have a good time with your family, you do. And as ministers and leaders in the church, we don't get that chance a lot of the times to be gone on a Sunday, to be gone on a weekend. And so I think for many of our staff, many of the pastors, we're tired and we're worn out. And I think coming back after pandemic, we're saying we don't want to go back to those old rhythms where we were doing so much and it was really a Sunday show in many ways. Come and let us entertain you. That consumeristic idea of Christianity.
Wow.
Quite honestly, I'm done with that. I'm done with that leading a church that's going to look like that. And I'm done being a Christian that looks like that. What does the kingdom of God look like? What does it look like to partner with God and not make a Sunday feel fuzzy, but to be impacted so we can make an impact all week long? What does it look like to truly do community, to truly be vulnerable, to truly share your faith, not because the pastor gives you the words to say, but because you have a radical relationship with God that's changed you, and now you want others to know about it. You talk about that burger that you ate at that restaurant like it's the best thing that ever happened. So what about your relationship with God? Why can't we share that like you would share about your favorite store or the favorite find you found at the thrift store? And so, but as a pastor, what we had to face was, have we helped disciple and shape and lead pandemic-proof Christians? Or have we been discipling and leading, come follow me, Christians that are really comfortable being told everything and not being given an opportunity to actually do it? Christians that are comfortable coming and maybe serving for an hour once a month somewhere that made them feel good, but the faith hasn't done anything in their everyday life. And as a leader, we had to face that and say, you know what, I think we've missed it here a couple times. We got comfortable being the one that was needed. We got comfortable being the one that you needed to come to. If you wanted your friend to know about God, bring him to your pastor. Yeah, we'll tell him. And instead, no, God's in you, and you can share this faith. You can share it. So that's a lot to say as pastors for ourselves. Like, we're going back, saying we're not going to go back to the way it was, and we're going to follow God's leading. But this is more about how do we as a community reach and meet the needs of our community that are all around us? Is a Sunday morning church service good news? I think it is. But let's make sure that our focus isn't about that, and it's more about sharing Jesus and seeing lives restored and renewed and set free.
So good. My goodness. Yes, it is good news, but the best news of all is Jesus.
Yeah.
He's the best news. And he came to set the captive free. He came to bring freedom. This is why he was anointed. It wasn't just so that it could be passed on to us and we have this mandate, but then we keep it within ourselves. We keep it within our services. We keep it within our Bible study.
Yeah.
We've also been anointed to go out and do the same. So, yeah. Wow, such a powerful revelations that the Lord gave you and your husband is, as you hit this pandemic. And I think you're absolutely right. I'm convinced that church will not go back to what it used to be. And I'm glad. Yeah. I'm glad and I'm thankful for that. And I love that word, the pandemic proof Christian, because I feel like so many people, myself being on staff, at a church and reaching out and connecting people. And some of these people are just like, they looked at it like, I'm just going to kick my feet up and it's just going to be me right now. I'm going to do this for me. And I'm just going to, and I understand there's, like you said, some of us just needed to rest and reset. I feel like it was a time of resetting for me personally. But at the same time, it's like, come on, no, all of us, every one of us, if you are in the body of Christ, if that is who you are, if that's where you have been placed, that you have the ability, you should be going out and doing likewise. Jesus said that. He said, the works that I do, greater works, even greater works. And this beautiful man who has brought each one of us, salvation, when you see the works that he did, it was like people were blind, laying hands on the sick, seeing them recover. He was raising the dead.
Yeah.
Can we, he was doing things that he was anointed to do, but it's not so that we can just say, wow, what wonderful things he did. No, he said, now, I'm going to leave, but there's one who will come and he's going to empower you to do the very same things. So we've all been empowered to do that same thing. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I'm so encouraged right now, and I'm strengthened. I just got my little Holy Spirit goosebumps.
You're so funny. I would say, like, just really practically speaking too, this, like you said, this gave us a reset. And so we want to take heed of that and not just skip to the next stage. And now we're like, oh, now we're open. And it is so easy to go right back into those old rhythms and old habits. Mm-hmm. And if I'm speaking to like a ministry leader, a church leader, someone who's wanting to be active in your community, I would say, look at what you have. And we started to look at our building and we said, we have this building that we've been gifted. And what are we doing with it? Every single room. What is this used for? We have a giant room that stays vacant Monday through Saturday. That's not okay. What can we do to bless our community? We looked at the grounds. What could we do to bless our community? And so that's where was birthed a coffee shop that's coming. It's these third spaces, places to meet people outside of our everyday rhythms that we would meet, and who, what's more disarming than a cup of coffee and a conversation and providing a place for community. So we have a coffee shop that's in the works, and then a creative space that people can come and do art. And it's also, you're able to rent it out to the community for school tutoring and a Pilates class or whatever. And then we have our pop-up pantry that is monthly distributing food to those in need. And so we just really try to get creative with, we have this thing. And then individually, I try to get creative. Who are the people around me? For me personally, I have 3 young kids. So when I go to the park, I see a lot of mamas pushing their kids on the swings. I see a lot of nannies. I go up and I say hello and I engage in conversation. And I'm just aware when I go to the coffee shop and I see the barista, I don't just order and keep my phone keep my head in my phone. I engage and I ask questions and I get to know. And I have a friend she has this one coffee shop. That's where she goes every time. And she goes every time, yes, because the coffee's good, but because she has intentionally built a community there. Those people will never come to church, but she brings church to them. She brings good news to them. And so it doesn't need to be difficult. You don't need to grab a Bible and start hitting people and preaching on a street corner. It's really simple. Do your life, but invite others to be a part of that life that you're doing.
Oh, I love that. It just reminds me of Robbie Booth all over again. I know that's one of the things is, he really just infiltrates the area where he lives, and he knows everybody by name and they know him. And he just brings the church to people. He brings Jesus. He brings the love of Jesus to people. And it's so important to be engaged. Let's just start with that. Can we just start with being engaging with people? Can we just start with, if you are talking to somebody, if you are ordering something, can we just put the phone down? Like, if you're watching this right now, maybe you're not a person that does that. Maybe you're the person that goes through the line and you're on the phone. But I'm just, challenging you, even in light of the things that Grace is sharing, which are just powerful, just simplicity. But it's going back to the basics and engaging with people, reaching out. How are you doing? Looking at people in the eye. I do like to, if they have their name tag, I do like to say their name. People love to hear their name, and people are important, and people need to know they're important. We don't know what they're going through. You may be having a day, but their situation may even be worse. And so, it's one of those things where I always joke about the song, there's no business like show business, but I feel like people, believers, we all also ought to, let's go on with the show, and not a show in the way of being fake, but you might be having a bad day, but it's okay for the sake of someone else to say, I'm going to put my bad day in the bag right now and just ask them how they're doing. How are you doing? And thank you for your help. Thank you so much for helping me, and have a great day. It's okay. You don't have to be like hiding yourself on your phone. And I love that. I think that's so beautiful, but it also says a lot to me, again, about who you are and just what, God has placed in your heart. And then of course, during the pandemic now, you've stepped in and you've said yes to a new role, which even evident. It's so evident why you are doing what you're doing. I mean, you're just the passion that's there, the experience that's there. Yet, somebody who's being offered and saying, okay, would you pray about this? Here's this opportunity. Would love to have you step in this role. Talk to us a little bit about what that was like for you to step into the new role of being our Associate District Supervisor of the Western District for Foursquare.
Well, it has been a journey, and it's not something that I was expecting to come my way. I have had my head down in the local church, serving my city, my community, my church, and my family. I have 3 pretty young kids. I have a 9, a 4, and a 2-year-old. Pray for me, because we're starting potty training with the 2-year-old. So if stepping into this job wasn't a big enough deal, now I'm potty training a 2-year-old. So that's great.
Beautiful family, by the way.
Thank you. Yes. What you didn't see in that picture was lots of tears and bribery. If you just smile, you'll get a lollipop. Like, pinching the legs to get them to smile. Yeah. Family photos are no joke. I'm telling you what, I need Jesus more at family photo day than any day.
One good photo is all you need.
I just need one good one, guys. I can't have any more kids because it's just too hard to get them to smile all at once. So I am a church girl. I love the local church, as much as it might have sounded like I was criticizing the local church. No, I love the local church. I believe that it's the way that God is using to get his message out, and we are the church. And so I love the local church, and I felt a stirring in myself. How you kind of feel like, I feel like a change is coming here. And honestly, I just thought I just had, a second kiddo, and maybe it was just going to be sort of the transition of being home and maybe being a little bit more involved in church, because I always take a break when I have a kid, and I really dedicate myself to be home more than I am doing anything else. And so I thought maybe that's what's happening here, or maybe I'm going to go get certified to be a coach, or I was looking at a couple different things and just really just putting it out there to the Lord. And when this presented itself, I said yes, because I felt that drawing of the Lord leading me into uncomfortable. And I had been in comfort, and I had been in a place that felt good and felt right. And I had sort of, I wouldn't say mastered, but I got really good at doing what I was doing, really good at the season that I was in. And I felt this drawing into the unknown. I felt this drawing into the uncomfortable place with him. And this is exactly that. I mean, I said yes because I love churches. I love pastors. I love to encourage. And I want to be able to be that in this role, is just a person that is there going, you got this. Like, you can do all that's in your heart to do. I love that story, but do all that's in your heart to do. And here I am, like, rooting you on, giving you everything you need, and so I feel like as a district supervisor or associate, I'm not the district supervisor yet. No, but as the associate supervisor, I'm here to serve. I'm here to serve the Foursquare domination, but also our pastors, and how can we make them wildly successful in what God is asking them to do? And we really have a mandate of more and growing leaders. And so what does that look like to provide resource and equipping and releasing and empowerment of all generations, all color, all people to go and do the thing that God has called you to do? What does that look like? And so that's part of my job and my role. And it is very uncomfortable because there's a lot of questions I don't know the answers to. And again, like we said at the top of this show, is that's when we need to rely on the Lord. And he draws you into those places of uncomfortability, because that's where the most growth is. You know, there's really little amount of growth that happens in your life in the places of comfortable. In the place of uncomfortable, you're growing probably 90 to 95% growth happens in those places. So I'm like, I just keep my eyes on that going, okay, Lord, you must have thought that I needed to grow in some ways, and you called me to this. So you are going to be faithful to see me through. And so I'm excited. I'm excited for the role. I'm excited for this position. I'm excited for Foursquare in the future of our churches. We oversee 431 churches. That's over 2,000 pastors. It's California, Arizona, Nevada, and Utah. We're the largest district in Foursquare, and we are doing it. It's awesome. So I'm pumped. West Coast, best coast.
West Coast, best coast.
That's right. So it's exciting. It's fun. You're in my district. We get to be in a district together. How cool is that?
No, that is so cool. It's so cool. I was looking at all of the leadership for our district, and I just was so excited. I was excited to see an increased number of women. I was excited to see people of color. You know, it's just, to me, it's like, that is the body of, it's who we are as the human race. It's like, you know, me, it's just so beautiful to see. I was so excited, and I thought, this is good. This is so good. So I'm pumped that you are serving in the role. I thank you so much for saying yes. Even in the midst of the questions or the fear, you know, we read in the Old Testament, you see Moses questioning, you see Saul questioning, you know, David running for his life, you know, different things, even though these people were appointed to lead. And yet, you know, I feel like in this day and age, we're no different. We still have things and obstacles and fears that we need to face and all of that. But in the midst of everything, you said yes. So thank you so much for saying yes. I'm excited for what God has in store for our district. Yeah. I'm excited for what he has in Foursquare. You are the right woman to be in that position that he's placed you in. Just your heart, your love for the local church, to resource people, to be cheering all of the leaders and the pastors on and saying, yes, like, do what God has called you to do. Because really, at the end of the day, if we're not doing what we've been called to do, what are we doing?
Yes.
What are we doing?
Yes. Yes.
So just so wonderful. I'm so proud of you. I'm applauding you. I'm cheering you on. I'm excited to come to your thrift shop. I'm excited to hear about your coffee shop when it opens. I'm so thankful that you guys have a pantry, that you are able to distribute that food to people in your community, and that you provide, you know, just resources, and you love people through your thrift shop. Just thank you so much. Clearly, God's doing so many new things in your life, in your ministry, in your home. I will be praying for you in that potty training season.
Yes, thank you.
I did jot it down.
Yes,
because that's a real thing.
That is real. That is real.
Oh my goodness. Well, before we wrap up, and then we are going to bring your information on here as well, would you be willing to pray for anybody that might be in that spot where so many things that you talked about, maybe there's a fear to step out in those things that they envision in their heart. Maybe they're having a little bit of a difficult time letting go of what was yesterday, and they're not really wanting to progress and move forward in the things that we should be all moving forward in. Or maybe it's that opportunity that's presented to someone, and to say yes to something, to someone bigger than themselves, and even there's a fear in that. Would you be willing to pray for that viewer, whether watching now or watching on demand?
Of course. And I wish I could be with every person. I bet you feel this way too. You want to see, look in their eyes, but God knows. So of course I'll pray.
Thank you.
Okay. Lord, we just thank you so much for who you are. And God, I am so confident that everything we need is found in your presence. I am so confident of that. And so, Lord, I pray every single person who's watching this, listening to this, seeing us, wherever they are, that they would be surrounded by you. They would feel your presence. They would lean in a little bit closer. and that you would speak to them what it is that you've called them to, and that you would remind them that you want to equip them and fill them with your Holy Spirit to empower them to do all that is in their heart to do. And God, you see every situation, every lie that they might be believing, every false truth they might think about themselves. And you say, no, I have called you and I will equip you. And God, I just pray right now for your wisdom, your clarity, God, as you speak and as you move on the hearts of people. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Grace, Pastor
Of
Grace.
course.
Wonderful to have you on here, and of course, so many things that you said. I'm like, oh my goodness, that's a whole other episode.
Have me back. Have me back.
I will have you back. I would love to have you back. Well, I'll let you know if I end up heading out to your thrift shop tomorrow.
Thank you. Yes.
That would be wonderful. Yes. So her thrift shop is Love the City Thrift Store. Their Instagram is at Love the City Thrift. And their website is LTC, which stands for Love the City thriftstorinfo.com. Is that correct?
I hope so.
Well, at the very least, Instagram at Love the City Thrift, if you could do that. And then and that's whether you're in Orange County or you're in LA County or any part of the SoCal area, San Diego, and you want to head out to LA, head out to their thrift store. And then, of course, their church's information is Vintage Faith Foursquare, and I believe we have that as well.
Yeah.
And also their website is vffchurch.com. And then Pastor Grace's Instagram is at Grace Clad. So please do follow her. Please do follow the church. Stay in the know about what's going on with Vintage Foursquare Church. Be praying for them. They're in the thick of the LA area and really, truly being a light. And so just pray for their continued success, everything they put their hand to. And I will do that as well, Pastor Grace. It was wonderful having you on here.
Thank you.
You are an incredible woman. This is a new season. I'm so excited about all the new that God is doing in your life. And I look forward to seeing you at your thrift shop.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank
All right,
you.
God.
Bye.
All right. God bless you. Bye-bye. Wow. Doing so much. I love that. I'm always inspired by women that are doing a whole lot because I just feel like there's so much to be done. There's so much work to be done. But not only is she doing it, but she's also doing it as a mom and as a wife. Just so incredible. So please, if you're in the LA area, do visit their thrift shop. If you have nowhere to go to church on a Sunday morning and you're in the LA area, do head over to Vintage Faith Foursquare. Just, that God is moving there. And it's just so wonderful just to see the heart of God is resting on that place, on their ministry, on their thrift shop, and on Grace Kladnick herself. Okay. So we're super, super excited about our next guest. But before we bring him out, we have a quick message from A New Thing Live. So don't go away. We'll be right back after this very quick message.
How you doing? What's the going on now? Remember those robes?
On the doors. Yep, early in the morning.
That GLH, that great looking hair, right? That they spray it on.
Yeah, I got some.
To cover up all the swag.
That's what's right here in the middle. FYI, if I could show you a before and after.
There you go.
You're a heartbreaker, dream maker. It was like, whoa.
That's a quote right there, by the way, when you said you would pick Destiny over dinner any day. I'm like, yes, that's a quote right there, Lord.
It's real talk. It's inspirational. It's a little bit of crazy and a whole lot of fun. Subscribe to A New Thing Live today. Pa! We're here.
If you have not yet subscribed, then we're inviting you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, A New Thing Live. If you're watching it on YouTube and you just stumbled on it, we're so glad that you did. But every Monday night, it's something new. Every Monday night, it's something inspirational for everybody. for everybody, no matter where you're at, no matter where you're watching us from. There's something inspirational just for you. So do that. And if you already are subscribed, then feel free to share it because, again, this is for everyone. We just want everyone to know that whatever is in your heart to do, there's something new that awaits just for you. And it's just ready for you to step on into it. And so that's why we're here, to help you do that thing, like even what Pastor Gray shared earlier, to inspire you to do that new thing that's already in your heart to do. So we're super excited. Okay, so our next guest, here we go. So if you're watching it on TV or on screen, it's not only behind the scenes, but there's usually somebody that's behind the camera capturing the very thing that you're watching. Being behind the camera has taken our next guest to, get this, 6 continents, 151 countries, 108 countries as a producer, director, or crew, 15 times around the world. These are all the many places that his gifting and his influence has brought him to. And because of that, he's impacted television, film. He's a doc director, speaker, author. I happen to have one of his books. He's a podcaster. And so all of this and so much more, would you please help me welcome the highly gifted and well-traveled Craig Forrest. Craig, where are you at?
I am in Northern California on a hot day that's going to be 104, but I have the air conditioning on and I'm feeling just fine. I'm up in agricultural town in the San Joaquin Valley called Lodi, California. Yeah, that's right. Stuck in Lodi. And it's surrounded by 120,000 acres of grapes. And this is my hometown. My dad was a pastor, Pentecostal pastor here. And this is where I called home as a young boy, all the way until I was a teenager. I went away for 40 years to work in LA and Orange County. And then my wife wanted to start her dream, which was a bed and breakfast. And out of all the places we looked, God had a sense of humor. We found this big old banker's mansion in Lodi. I said, Lodi. And we turned it around and made it a beautiful place to visit and to stay. And we've been up here almost 5 years. And we have a great bed and breakfast called Bordeaux in Lodi. Bordeaux, like the wine in the city, in I-N-N, Lodi, L-O-D-I. And you can find us at bordeauxinlodi.com. And pretty soon, Rebecca is going to take over the B&B, and I will go back to film and television in the coming months here. So it's an exciting time, but hot day, but cool under the roof. There you go.
Yes, my goodness. Well, welcome to A New Thing Live, and thank you for joining us, even amidst those very hot circumstances. I know we do have a photo of your inn, so we'll have to bring it up shortly when we're giving all of your information. But it's been so long. It's been a while since I've seen you in person. I want to say probably a good 10 plus years. Is that about right?
Probably so. Yeah. Hello. You look younger than ever.
Oh, well, you're so sweet. It's the hair. Whenever I wear my hair curly,
I don't have that problem.
I can lend you some.
I'll take anything I can get. It doesn't matter to me.
Oh, well, it's so great to see you. And you've been doing so much, been keeping up with you. I've loved that we've been able to stay connected through the years. You've always been an individual who has inspired me. And, in different times, pockets, projects, I think I do think about Craig Forrest. And so,
good.
So I'm super excited that, you're able to be a part of our show today.
Thank you.
This is a dream for me to have you and both Pastor Grace on at the same time. I'm like, wow, the Lord just brought us some wonderful heavy hitters. And so I just feel very humbled and excited to have you both on here. Yes. So,
Cindy and I know each other because my wife, Rebecca, and I were members of the Rock Church in Anaheim. Yeah. That was our local church for a couple of years, Pastor Jerry and Kimberly Dearman. Now, the problem is that Kimberly speaks fluent Spanish, as because she was a missionary kid in Colombia. and mi esposa, mi amor para siempre, Rebecca del Bosque. My wife is family's from Puerto Rico. So whenever we would go say goodbye at the door to Jerry and Kimberly, all of a sudden Rebecca and Kimberly were talking in Spanish, and Jerry and I, Pastor Jerry and I, knew we were in trouble because we have no idea what they were saying, you know. So there you go.
Well, you know, it was all good.
Yeah,
Whatever they were saying.
I was praying it was all good. Yes, yes.
Oh my goodness. I didn't know that your wife was, you said Puerto Rico?
Well, her dad is from Puerto Rico and the mom is from Nicaragua, and they have a beautiful love story of how they met in Los Angeles that could be saved for another time. But she was 20 and quite beautiful, and still a very elegant lady now in her 80s. And he was 29, and he picked her up. Ed is his name, my wife's dad. He picked up Rosa, her mom, in a 1951 two-door Cadillac convertible for their first date. And I looked at him and I said, "Oh, I see, chick magnet." Yeah, 50. Do you know how long those things are? Those
No.
are 50 feet long. I don't know. They're all made of steel, no aluminum back then. And
No.
that was their first date, and they fell in love, and they were married about 10 months later. So there you go.
Wow.
Yep.
So there you go, guys. For those of you that are courting anybody,
Get a
part of
Cadillac.
that,
Get a
Cadillac. Get
That's
a long car.
That's right. Yeah.
Even if you have to rent it.
That's right. That's
What
right.
a great investment.
Maserati isn't bad either, but that's going to cost you.
Yes, yes. Oh my goodness. Well, what a beautiful love story. Well, I have so many things to ask you because you're doing so many different things right now. First of all, how have you been, and how has your wife Rebecca been, and your end with regards to the pandemic? You guys been doing okay?
You know what? That's a great question. Thank you for asking, because Rebecca works full-time as a nursing home administrator. She is the boss of a place in Galt, which is about 15 minutes. She drives literally through the vineyards, not a bad commute, through the vineyards every day to Galt, and a little 14,000 person town. It's the only nursing home there. And she's the boss. She has 100 employees, 82 residents that live there under that roof, nursing home, convalescent home. And the last year and a half has been very difficult, especially the month of December. She had to shut down to all outside visitors other than staff and
Wow.
and family on March 6th of 2020. And nobody in, just to keep the residents, who are very much in peril because they're all over the age of 65. Many of them, some of them are in their hundreds, 102, 104 years of age. And so in all of that, she did her best to keep it COVID free. And then last November, she had staff that went off, like anyone, for Thanksgiving and to meet with friends and family. And they came back and they brought back COVID to the building. And she lost 9 nursing home residents.
Oh.
And to be honest with you, I'm going to tell you something that was tough with her in December. The mortuaries would not come in to pick up bodies of people who had passed away. And Rebecca and her staff had to take care of those bodies in body bags and take them outside the building to hand that over to the mortuaries and funeral homes and such. And with Rebecca, who's a loving, caring professional, a caring healthcare professional, don't ever bring up December to her. December was D-Day. It was the absolute worst. Now, having said that, and she lost one that was 102 years of age and one that was 104, who'd lived obviously great lives, and COVID got them. But it started changing back to better around February or March. Now, Bordeaux and Lodi, we were off, we were on, we were open, we were closed, we were partly open, we were partly closed, we're not open at all. We're open to essentially, it went back and forth for 14, 15 months. But starting in March or April of this year, it started opening up. Our county, San Joaquin County, began opening up. And then March, April, May, it's just been gangbusters. June, July, going really well. And we're back to whatever normal could be considered. And I'll tell you one thing. People want to travel. They want to travel. They've been in their house. They've been cooped up. The kids have been, at home, homeschooled, online, whatever it might be. And they want to get away. And if they can't get on an airplane and they can get somewhere with a tank of gas, well, all of our wineries here, wine tasting rooms have opened up, and Lodi, as a small 67,000 person town, is just really back to flourishing. And that simply helps to make up for all that time where it was bad. So we're doing fine. We're doing great. And at some point here, and we'll probably talk about this, Cindy, I'm going to hand that back over to Rebecca and not do the heavy lifting of management and go back to film and television in the coming weeks now.
Wow. Well, my goodness.
I did this because I love my wife, and this was her dream. So I put everything aside for me for a few years here so she could realize her dream. And then now we'll move on to a new chapter.
Well, that's powerful. You just gave us a whole dish full. Like, what do we dissect?
A soup bowl, a soup tureen. I like that. Soup tureen. How often you get to use the term tureen in a conversation?
Well, yes, true.
There you go.
I just used it yesterday.
Of course. Well, I borrowed it from you, so there you go.
Oh my goodness. So, well, first of all, just a huge thank you to Rebecca for doing what she did, for leading her team just with strength, probably with grace, probably with fear, not having to be courageous even amidst those morbid circumstances. It's just so heartbreaking. And so please just send her my love. Just tell her thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I'm glad that things are better. They're in the up and up. So sorry though for the loss. I'm sure that was a very difficult time for her. And I'm glad that you were there to be there with her.
Yeah.
I'm sure that just meant the world to her, and it was probably so needed,
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But anyway, but now you said you're going to go back to filming and all of these things, which is one of the reasons we had you on the show. I mean, you have over 40 years of being in the industry as a producer, as a director, as a cameraman. How did you even know that this was what you wanted to do? And then all the places it's taken you and all the different networks that you work for. And now you are the owner of Windsock Films. And so, I want to talk about that as well. But how did you even know that this was something that you wanted to do?
What a great question. I hardly, when you're behind the camera, nobody asks you questions. You're always asking the person in front of the camera questions. Something monumental happened to me when I was 16. I was a sports journalism major in high school down in San Diego. And I entered a competition. And out of 60 high schools, out of the blue, I won #1 sports writer in all of San Diego. I was 16, high school trophy, wow. The whole thing. And only 4 months before, I was taking a journalism course, and I found out. I was shocked. I was just absolutely shocked. And I brought this trophy home. I'm 16 and my dad and mom are at home. And they go, "What's that?" "It's a trophy." "Well, what is it?" "I won #1 in all of San Diego County." "Well, how'd you win that? How'd you get the trophy?" "I wrote an article in competition and I won." Whoa. And my mom was skeptical about all that. But my dad was a good-hearted guy. And he said, "You know what? If that looks like the way you're going to launch, into a future, our church in San Diego," he says, our church advertises on local TV. "I'm going to get you an internship at KGTV 10 for a day or so." to go in and see what's going on. I'm going to get you also an interview with the top sports writer at the San Diego Tribune newspaper. And my dad picked up the phone, says, I have an advertising account. My son's just named number one. I would like if you would work it out, because he had advertising in the newspaper. He had advertising on the TV. And a few weeks later, I'm sitting inside of a studio at KGTV 10, which was number one at the time, watching the sports broadcast and all of that. And then meeting, by the way, I met Jim Hill, who's a channel 2, KCBS, African-American, used to play for the Chargers and such. And I met him. And the times I've bumped into him in LA, I go, you don't remember me, but I was an intern and you were at TV 10. He goes, and we would reminisce about that. And I also went out to lunch with a guy named Steve Bishop, who was with San Diego Tribune, later moved on to the Orange County Register as a sports writer. Okay, let's get to the chase. What does that mean? I took an aptitude test in high school, and I was off the charts as to TV at that time. I didn't know film. And I thought I was going to head that way, but then my mom and dad moved to Pasadena. My mom took a district job, sort of like Grace, but she was in charge. My mom was in charge of women's ministries for 350 churches in Southern California for her denomination, Assemblies of God. We were going to move to Pasadena. I didn't want to move to go my senior year. I needed a couple more classes. I went to Bethany University in Santa Cruz at the age of 17. 4 years there, wrote on the newspaper. But as I'm about to graduate from Bethany, I really wanted to work in TV. And a great friend of mine named Jim, a good friend, Jim Pickens on staff, he heard me say that. And he says, I could get you an internship at PTL Television in Charlotte if you want me to. I'll make a call. There's a guy named Roger Flessing. And Jim picked up the phone and called Roger Flessing and said, yeah, send him out. And about 5 weeks later, I was an intern at PTL Television, Charlotte, Jim Baker, Tammy. I could tell you stories that are crazy and interesting. And the day after I got there, on a Tuesday, June 21, 1977, back in the dark ages when dinosaurs roamed the earth before electricity, I was offered a full-time job rather than a non-paying intern. And I said, yes, I'll take it, because I figured I'd rather be on payroll than the day before being simply a volunteer trying to learn. And that is what started me in television. And then later on, I added documentaries by going to World Vision. I was on staff at World Vision for 4 years, doing documentaries all over the world. And then when I was just turned 30, I started doing documentary series for the Assemblies of God of unreached people in all corners of the world, and shot in 32 countries for the Assemblies, and eventually 52 countries for them. And there is no training like that. There's no textbook for that, which is why I wrote the book I did that Cindy Galley has purchased. You know, yes. What is the name of my book? I forgot. Commando Tactics for Digital Filmmakers. I forgot the name of my own book. Yeah. Commando Tactics. Sound like Regis Philbin. I can't believe I forgot the name of my own book. I wrote it. Commando. Reach. I worked with him. It's all a put on. He's the nicest guy in the world, or was. Commando Tactics for Digital Filmmakers. And it's also available in Español. Tácticas de Comando para Filmación Digital. Tácticas de Comando para Filmación Digital. You can find it either way. It's also an ebook. So 40 years of traveling the world. When I got to 100 countries, Cindy, I thought that was phenomenal. I would have been happy with 20 or 30 or 40. But the more international production that I did, the more the phone rang for me to do international. It's like if a doctor has a specialty, heart surgeon or shoulder replacement or brain surgeon, well, you keep getting calls for that, or knee operations. In my case, if it was an international, then I kept getting calls for that. I eventually worked for The Amazing Race for CBS and was on their production team. And the show won the 2009 Emmy Award for reality competition. And so I began working both in secular and in faith-based. I'd say 1/3 secular and 2/3 faith-based. So there you go.
Yeah, very good. I mean, when I was looking at all of your credentials, I'm like, oh my goodness. Yes, I saw ABC on there. I think I saw CBS on there, Discovery Channel, A&E,
Yeah.
UPN. I was like, oh my goodness.
Can I tell you something? Can I tell you something about Discovery Channel?
Univision. I mean, it
Yeah,
was just
Univision.
like
I
the
did,
gamut.
Yeah, yeah. We and Telemundo. Those were all boxing matches. Look, I have to do this to do boxing matches. Something changed for me in the early 90s. A friend of mine named Debbie Fitzgerald, who was working for Discovery Channel, called me out of the blue. And I just finished doing all these faith-based shoots, all here, there, everywhere. And she said, we're doing a new show called World of Wonder for Discovery Channel. And you have any footage? You have any that could be great, interesting stories? And I go, yeah, I think I do. All these things I shot for the assemblies had over 200 hours of footage, 200 hours of footage.
Wow.
In all these different places. And I said, let me think about that. Give me a couple of days. I'll get back to you. So I sent them like 6 different stories that I thought would work for Discovery Channel, and they picked 3. And I said, okay, let me talk to the assemblies, and you can buy the footage from them, a rental. You make a copy and all that, and we'll shoot some new interviews, and we'll take them from faith-based with the new interviews into the secular realm. And we did, and by doing that, all of my faith-based that talked about Jesus and evangelism and Bible colleges and orphanages and crusades and all of this and literature tracts, it was now repurposed. All these great footage of it was Hindu ceremony in Singapore, one at the Ganges River, Hindu worship in Varanasi, India, and one at the Square of the Dead in Morocco, in Marrakesh. Completely re-edited into secular. And now I had 3 great stories for the Discovery Channel, plus my director's reel of travel and such. And I began pitching my services to A&E, History Channel, PBS, all these different places. And now I was legitimate. Now I had a calling card, and they go, oh, Discovery Channel. That is the domino that fell, that made the other dominoes fall after it. And that one phone, a couple of 3 or 4 phone calls changed my life. My dad making a phone call, Jim Pickens making a phone call, and Debbie Fitzgerald calling me, and a guy named Ed Nelson with the assemblies who called me and said, I'd like to do 6 videos for the assemblies. You know what? Those are all based on relationships. And that's critical in any industry, especially television. It's not your resume will get you to the door, but it's your relationship that will get you through the door. And those calls, every one of them made a difference in both my life, my ministry, my filmmaking, my creativity, and my career.
That's so good.
And you can't plan those. They just happen. Those are divine appointments.
That's exactly what they are. Those are divine appointments. I noted that, as well as the story of Joseph, because one of the things that you're sharing is you are doing already what your calling and what your gifting had you to do. Right. And that's what Joseph was doing. Here he was in prison, and he was interpreting dreams. So that when there was a need for a dream interpreter, who did they call on? They called on the man who was interpreting dreams, even in prison. So it doesn't, to me, I always tell people, it doesn't matter where you're at. Do what's in your heart to do.
Right. Yeah.
Do it and be faithful at it. Be found faithful. And that's exactly what you did, so that when opportunity came, you already had something that you were already using, and then you were the person that people were calling for international film. The other thing that I noted, which I think is brilliant, is, and I just started just discovering this probably within the last 4 months, is the power of repurposing. And I've told my team, we can repurpose videos as well. We don't just, it doesn't just have to be every time it's like we have to do a whole new thing. No, if we've already done it if we already have the content, then let's repurpose that and let's work smarter, not harder at something. And so you might have to revise it a little bit. You might have to take it, even though originally it was for faith-based use, and now you're able though to take all that footage. You said over 200 hours of footage, and now create something for channels like history or maybe you said A&E, I can't remember. That's brilliant. That is so brilliant. I love that.
And I'm going to tell you something. When I started this series in 1986, it was called the Unreached People series. They did not do, the Assemblies of God went through a number of political changes and people coming and going, and it got lost in the shuffle. But I went from that 6 episode series that a wonderful man named Ed Nelson called me to do. He had complete faith in me, and it turned into 13 episodes, about 20 to 25 minute, a journey across the world to India, to China, Southern Africa, Western Africa, East Africa, both sides, three parts of Europe, etc. We were going to do more, and then it stopped. My point in all this is that I didn't have a secretary. I didn't have any staff. I didn't have any production assistant. So I had just done this big series for the for World Vision. It took me a year and a half. How do you work in cities of the world? Cities of the world. How do you do it? It's called The City for God's Sake. And so I had 150 cassettes for that. That was the one before. And I was organized. And so when I started the Unreached People on my own with my own company at that time, 1986, I after the very first trip, I said, if I don't get organized now, I'm going to be in trouble. And so I began logging every single cassette, every time code number that was rolling up on the screen. And it was all printed out for me by a transcription company, and putting them into logbooks. Here's Africa, here's Europe, here's Asia, etc. USA, where I did some shoots. And I knew, so those 450 cassettes, that's over 200 hours of footage. I knew every cassette. I knew every interview, including what question. It was all organized. I knew where everything was. If you wanted, interview with Cindy Galley in Anaheim, California, in front of something, I could go to that. I'd look at my logbook and go, yeah, USA cassette number 47, Cindy Galley interview. And I could pull it. I knew exactly what that is. Now let's get to your repurposing thing. One of the smartest things for ministries and churches to do is to keep track and archive all that material that you've shot. It's so much easier now because it's digital. It's not on tape. Have it in places that are very well organized and never get rid of it. And secondly, back it up. If anything happens to that hard drive and it crashes, you're in trouble. Back up everything so that you'll sleep better at night, knowing that there is a digital copy that is exactly the same as the original that you can find. And you can recut that. Maybe it's a missions convention and the missionary spoke 3 years ago and now he's coming back. You've got that footage to highlight that person for your missionary convention coming up in the fall. You can go back and you don't have to draw or create the wheel again. You can go and repurpose that and reuse that for whatever your promotions and inspiration is.
Well, that's great news.
That one was for free. I'm not charging for that one.
Well, I'm laughing because I wrapped up almost 4 years of serving at The Rock as their communications director. And that was one of the things I'm like, where is all the footage from years before? Like, and so that's just an ongoing conversation. So I'm just chuckling like, oh my goodness, this would have been great even to have this conversation.
And do this. Start early on it. Don't arrive at it late. Okay. It's just as you're, even if you're at the point with a church or a ministry, you have all this footage, is start looking back over cassettes, and you can bring in a young tech, male or female, that knows how to digitize or whatever it might be. You may even have to digitize tape. And by the way, you better digitize your tape, because that tape from years ago is going to begin to disintegrate over time. It is.
That's-
So you're going to get it into the digital world, and then have it really well organized with good names to it and numbers to it, so you can go click. You know what? ESPN does this. Any network, professional network, does this. If they want, the interview with Tom Brady, 1999 at the Super Bowl, they can type into the hard drive, Brady, Super Bowl, 1999 interview. Boom, up it comes in 5 seconds. Oh, it's in bin number 27 over on this drive, and they can pull it up right then and there. And they can be putting that thing together in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, because it's organized. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to say it again, you sleep so much better at night knowing that everything is organized and where it's supposed to be.
Yes, I love that. Well, we talked about simplicity earlier on, and to me, all of that organizing really does help because you already know where it's at. And so to me, it just goes all, back to the whole library system. They're just, something that's so easy. It's indexed and it's easy to relocate. So I love that thing. Go ahead. By all means.
Can we talk about two things coming up? I'll just throw them out there. I want to talk about D.L. Moody film, and I want to talk about live streaming. You want to tackle live streaming first?
Whichever you want to do first, but yes, let's tackle them both.
Right, because with D.L. Moody, I may do an altar call during this service. So
okay, let's talk about live streaming first.
Let's do live streaming first. Pastors and leaders, you were forced into live streaming, kicking and screaming, and there are a lot of people, a lot of churches and ministries that realized all of a sudden there was nobody sitting in your pew because your doors were closed, because they had to be closed. They were forced to be closed. And now you had to scramble. And the very first thing you did was go buy a camera. And you put the camera at the very back of the auditorium with all of these empty seats and pews. And you decided to zoom from the back of the auditorium. And you decided in the very first part of live streaming that you were going to do the exact same thing you'd always done for the last 5, 10, 20, 40 years. You were going to give a live service with no changes whatsoever. And that camera might as well have been a security camera. I've even had churches and pastors that came to me and say, brother, and by the way, I'm a pastor's kid, so I'm already a rascal to begin with, okay? You know what, brother? Is there any way that we can just simply use a security camera? I don't want that camera getting in the way of the message and get in the way of the ministry. And I say, okay, so you've decided to go with the security camera. Really? Why? Well, I want to put it in the back. Or I had one guy who wanted to put it on the side wall of the church. So it wouldn't be what I said. Okay, here's your notes. Write it down. Where you place the camera is where you place the viewer. Where you place the camera is where you place the viewer. If you place the camera in the back row, you've told your viewer they can never be up in the front row. They have to sit at the back of the auditorium. When you move the camera up closer, we can zoom. Well, then you're so far away from the camera, it's very impersonal. Closer shots are more personal. Far away shots are impersonal. There's another one for you. So if you possibly can, get your camera closer. And you can change things now because it's not so much live stream like it was during COVID. Okay, we're coming out of that. Unless you're overseas somewhere watching this wonderful show with Cindy. But if you possibly can, bring that center camera in closer. Take out a chair or two down on row 3 and tell your audience, we want the viewer to be closer. So please, we can work it out. And whenever you're doing a service, talk to the camera every now and then. Hey, if you're watching by live stream, welcome. We're glad you're here. Wherever you might be in the world, we want to thank you for joining our service today. When you're taking the offering, do the same thing. If you're a guest, there's no obligation to give. But if this is where you call home, we would love for you to have the sacrifice of giving, the gift of giving through tithes and offerings. And you can do that digitally on your phone. You can do that on our website. or you could do it via internet, and here's how to do it, and go that way. Remember, with live stream, the church, and you talked about it in your previous conversation with Grace, which was good, Cindy. The church is never going to go back to what it was before COVID. It's changed, and now you're in a digital world. And don't spend so much time and money on your gear. Spend it on the presentation in front of the camera. Presentation. I didn't say entertainment. I said presentation. Your worship team that are singing, your message, your prayer, etc. However that works for you. And also in the chat room for live stream, have a pastor, an associate pastor, an assistant pastor that's in the chat room answering people's questions as they pop up on the computer screen for live streaming. People want answers. They've gone through a year and a half, and they're troubled, and they want answers to life. And most millennials now, 60-70%, according to Pew Research, will check out a church online and live stream before they will walk in the front door. And if they like it on a live stream, then to them it's worth getting in a car and driving to your church and attending a live service. Okay, there's your live stream.
Wow, that's good. I'm choking on myself over
That's
here.
okay. I do it all the time.
Yeah. Welcome to my world. Oh no, but that's so good. I love that. I love that you just really clarified the importance and the power of where you place the camera, first of all. Because I think that's important.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now for me, for example, I'm still trying to find, am I a little too close? Am I a little too, but to put the camera, 20, 30 feet away is not where it's at.
Right.
Can I just be honest? I mean, people, they want to see your expression. They want to, sometimes you can even, I'm so close, you see the sweat, coming down, and I'm not to say that that's great either, but I think that's so important for churches to do that and to understand that. Go ahead.
It comes to the fact that most leaders, are you listening to me, leaders? I've been doing this a long time. You never took a media course at Bible college because they didn't require you to take a media course. They told you to take homiletics and Pentateuch, systematic theology 101, 105, 110. I took all three of those. They didn't require you to ever have a media course, but things have changed. You know when it changed? It changed when the internet started coming around in the late 1990s, but it really changed in 2005 when the iPhone came about and blew the BlackBerry just out of the water. And now you have a smartphone that is your computer in your hand, and it's your camera in your hand. And you get it. It all changed 2005, 16 years ago. And you didn't catch up to it. So you need to catch up to it. You need to take tutorials in media. And I don't want to, if I can help you in some way, that's fine. I found that a lot of pastors already think they know everything there is to know. Okay. All right. If that's your situation, but I'm going to turn 65 in a couple weeks. I don't know when that happened. When did I get to be almost 65? 40 years in the industry. And there's something I've come to realize. You can never know it all. You should always be learning. Never stop learning. There's always something to learn. It's the 12th of July. And in a couple of weeks, there's something new that's going to happen in digital media. And I need to know about it or learn about it. And you got to humble yourself and just be a sponge. Pastors, you need to be a sponge. Ministry leaders, be a sponge. Staff, be a sponge. Just soak it up. Keep soaking it up. And when you dry out, soak it up some more. Media has you can reach more people with media in one day, size-wise of audience, than Jesus reached in 3.5 years walking around the Galilee and Israel, population-wise. You can have one video, and in 5 minutes, it could reach millions of people if it's done right. How many people did Jesus reach in his 3.5 years? Maybe 100,000, maybe 50,000. 200,000, whoever's available in the little Roman occupied territory of Israel and Samaria and Egypt. Yeah, you can reach a lot of people. Don't neglect media, and media's not about the camera. That's the tool. It's what happens in front of the camera that reaches people.
Amen. That is a quote. Actually, between you and Grace, I keep time coding and writing down when you're saying these powerful nuggets and sharing these powerful nuggets, but that is so good and that is so true. I really hope that people are taking to heart, what you're sharing, because I know that you said that's free, but really it is. It's free advice and it's great advice. And there's so many, I love that whole idea, be a sponge. I always tell people, I went up to my master's degree and I'm debating, do I want a second master's in script and screenwriting, or do I want to just work on my doctorate? I don't know, but I miss school. I miss being in school. I love learning. Yeah. I don't consider myself scholastic by any stretch of the imagination, but I love learning and I love sharing with people what I learn. And so there's so many different things right now. I mean, you can go on Clubhouse. That's free. If you have a little more to invest, there's, masterclass.com with all these wonderful actors and authors and leaders, Anna Wintour, just different people that have excelled and that are leading in their field, and they're sharing with you what they've learned, what they know, and it's free. I mean, not that the cost is free, but
and I got a question about that. Let's say you're part of a denomination or a ministry group, or you're part of and you're going to have conferences every year, right? Yes. Why don't you talk to the organizing committee or somebody in that's influential and say, I'd like for us to have someone that speaks on media and how to master media and leverage. I use the word leverage in the best sense of that term, to make it to its best use, leverage it. And we need to have somebody speaking on media at our conference every year, or in the case of Grace, where the Western District of Foursquare, ICFG, International Church of the Foursquare Gospel, we should have at least one session about media, of how to have a better website, how to reach people through YouTube and Vimeo and Facebook, and do better clips, and all of these different criteria to make, we have a timeless message, the love, the grace, the mercy of Jesus Christ. But now we have to repurpose it, and I'm using that term very cautiously. Mm-hmm. We have to embrace it so that now we can present it basically on a place where people are watching screens. If you can reach somebody's screen, you're starting to reach the person, especially if they're young. 7 to 8 hours of media is consumed every day by teenagers and 20 and 30-year-old, and maybe even kids. How are you going to reach them?
Wow, that's so good. That's another quote, Craig. If you can reach someone's screen, you said if you can reach someone's screen, then you can reach them.
Right.
That's so good. I mean, so simple and so right on point. It's so good. I love that. There is such a power in media. I think you and I even talked years and years and years ago. For example, I think we talked about, me even wanting to do a talk show. This was probably back in early 2000s. And, we would do a little here, we do a little here, we do a little filming here. But I have to say that the first time I really felt the release was last year during the pandemic. And that just blew my mind. I'm like, now? Why now? I'm too old. The dream is gone. No. And we're in the middle of a pandemic, and it was this strong sense, like, now is the time. Right. And so we launched it, and I'm having a blast. I'm learning so much. And of course, there's still so many things I need to learn. It's like we debrief afterwards, and it's like, oh, this, But I have to say, you're absolutely right. Just in the sense where I have people watching that I don't know, people that will be emailing us or direct messaging us saying, thank you so much. Because of that one episode, I got clarity on what I had been asking or what I've been praying about or on what I needed.
That's good.
And that really is, to me, is what this show is all about. It's like, come on, because every one of us already are designed and have within us to do what we're called to do. The talent's already there. The gifting is there. Of course, honing it in. Yes, go ahead.
There is one thing in your life, whoever's watching this, wherever you're watching, there's one thing in this world that you're supposed to do for God. And you'll never be happy until you find out what that is and go do it. One thing. And when you find out what that is, burn yourself out doing it the best you possibly can for as long as you possibly can. And then maybe down the line, different chapter of life, God changes what that purpose is. But you'll never be truly happy inside of you and in your spirit till you find out what that one thing is that God wants you to do. And when you find it, head to it.
That is so good. And we just had church. Yes and amen. Goodbye.
Yeah.
No, seriously, because that's what it's all about. Even with Pastor Grace earlier was saying, if you're not doing the one thing that you're called to do, then what are you doing?
Right.
What are we doing?
You're running around.
We're running around, wasting time, wasting energy, wasting money on things that are amounting to nothing because it's not pointing you in the direction of the things that you're called to do.
Let me add one more thing. I know we have a kind of a long show here, and I won't belabor this. Out of the blue, a year ago, I got a call. Could you direct a film on D.L. Moody, the late evangelist from the 1800s, who spoke to 100 million people in his ministry from 1860, 1899. And so I will be directing, we're just getting it started, a feature film, a biopic on D.L. Moody. And I think we're going to call it D.L. Moody and the Scarlet Thread. The Scarlet Thread. I like that. Very biblical. So I thought I was retired, but somebody pulled me out of retirement. So there you go.
There you go. And now it sounds like you're going back out.
Yeah.
Right.
That's going to take me a couple years of my life to do that, because films take a long time. And I've already spent a year on it, and we haven't even we're just about to get to the script stage at this point. Films take a long time. You don't just decide on Tuesday, we're going to be shooting a film next week. It takes many times 6 months to a year of preparation before you even pull the camera out, with actors and everything, and scenes and locations and financing to do it. So I am thrilled. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint, but God's purpose. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, God.
Yes, so good. Well, I'm inspired, always so encouraged. You have so many things going on. And as I was looking at all that you're doing, I'm thinking to myself, oh my goodness, I almost wish, I'm not going to ask you this in person, but I am going to say it here on live. I'm like, I almost wish he could mentor me, because there's so many things. You've got your blog, I've got my blog, you have your podcast, I have a podcast. We're just starting to film a docudrama in August. So we've already started the docu portion, but now the drama portion we're doing in August. And sometimes you just think, like, what am I doing? Am I doing this right? Kind of thing. So I might be reaching out to you.
Can I mention my podcast?
Yes, please do. 6 Ways to Sunday.
6 Ways to Sunday podcast with Craig D. Forrest. We just started season 3. Every single person is unique and different than the other. All we do is have wonderful conversations. There's no agenda, but we talk about the intersection of digital media and faith-based media and culture. And start with Phil Cook and work your way all the way. We're just now airing Susan Isaacs, who's a comedian, who's been on Seinfeld and Parks and Recreation. And she's just the smartest blonde you could ever imagine, and funny. And she teaches screenwriting at my alma mater, Chapman University, at the film school. She is a full-time professor there, Susan Isaac. So 6 Ways to Sunday podcast. And the podcast is on over 25 different sites, but all the big ones like Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, and such. iHeartRadio. You can find it easy. Just Google Play. Just type in 6 Ways to Sunday podcast, Craig D. Forrest, Forrest, and you'll find it. And just click and hope you enjoy it. It's a lot of inspirational and a lot of things about creativity, television, film, churches, media. It just depends on the guest.
Yes. I have to say, I don't remember who it was. It was about a month ago. I jumped on. I do subscribe to your podcast. I just so enjoyed the content, and I think it's so important, especially now with what you're talking about, like the digital age and things should be digitized. In fact, right now I invested in one of those tape converters.
Yes.
On Amazon.
Yes.
Because there are some cassettes that I'm like, oh no, like we need this.
Yes. Yes.
So just the whole idea of just really coming to terms with the fact that we live in a digital age, and with the pandemic, it spiked even higher. And so, but I just, I so appreciate your podcast, your willingness just to share your nuggets, to bring people on who share their experiences, to help those of us that are willing to listen. That is another one. That is another way you can be a sponge. Be a sponge by subscribing to 6 Ways to Sunday podcast.
Thank you.
And hear and learn, especially if maybe filmmaking is your desire, or television, or writing, journalism, anything in that capacity.
There's a lot of things about media and ministry on the podcast.
Yes.
One guy named Lynn Wilson, who's maybe our 3rd or 4th person that we interviewed very, very early on, has some wonderful things to say about the purpose of the church and the purpose of media within the church. And one of them, and I won't give it away too much, he said how Jesus spoke to people was different than how he spoke to disciples.
Mm-hmm.
And we as church leaders speak to the audience out there as if they already are disciples. And we use language they don't understand, because we're talking to them as if they're disciples with church language. They don't know what you're talking about. You've got to use the language. Jesus was a person of the streets. He knew how to talk Aramaic. And when it was time to be Hebrew, fine. When it was time to converse with Pilate, it was time to turn to Greek. He spoke at least 3 languages. Greek, Aramaic, and Hebrew he would have learned in Sabbath school, in the local Sabbath, a synagogue in Nazareth. So Lynn Wilson has got some wonderful things. Phil Cook, Craig Detweiler. There's a whole, maybe 25, 30 guests. So enjoy.
Absolutely. Please do enjoy. Please do subscribe. Craig, it's just been such an honor and a joy just to have you on here, seeing all that you've done. And I'm just humbled that you're, again, on our show. Every person that we have on our show, I just think, my goodness, thank you so much. So thank you. My joy. For who you are, all that you've done, as well as Grace. Thank you for saying yes. And I'm just in awe of all of those opportunities, those open doors, and you were ready to walk right through it.
Thank you.
I'm glad that you did. We are all better people for it. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. For those of you that are podcasters, please head over to 6 Ways to Sunday podcast. So many different platforms. You can find it with Craig D. Forrest. We didn't even really get to talk too much about Windsock Films, except for that I know that now you're going to be working on the D.L. Moody movie, which congratulations to that.
Yep.
Just what a beautiful and what a powerful story. So many of our forefathers of the faith, there are some things that are in my heart, and who knows?
I'll make it quick. It's a long show. He led a life, experienced a life that is almost out of a novel. Could barely read and write. Went to the poorest place in Chicago. In 1 year, he had a Sunday school of kids of 600. Abraham Lincoln shows up. He's a chaplain in the U.S. Army, befriends U.S. Grant, goes 9 times to the battlefields of the Civil War, ministered to Confederate soldiers in prisons, and also went to the Union Army tents and hospitals, went through the Chicago fire, had his house, his church, and the YMCA completely burnt to the ground, was filled with the Holy Spirit, goes to England, and his typical amount of people that came to hear him were between 10,000 to 30,000 people per service. Does that sound like Billy Graham to you? This was Billy Graham before there was a Billy Graham. He comes back to America completely world known. He was world famous. He went to England unknown. He came back famous. And in the late 1870s, he's on a ship going back from Ireland to America, and the ship nearly sinks in the North Atlantic, just like the Titanic. But God spares them through prayer. Now, could that be a movie?
Let me think
think
about
so.
it.
Think so.
Yeah, that's powerful. I mean, it could, with all of the series even that are going on today, that could also make a powerful TV series. You know, just
I think it would be
because there's so much to his life.
The great challenge is, how do you get such an incredible life into 100 to 110-minute movie? But I've also thought that later on it would make a great 3-part series where you really dig into Moody all the way from age 4 when his dad dies, all the way until age 62 when he succumbs to heart failure. So, and everything in between. You can't do it. You can't do justice in 110 minutes, but you can in a 3-part streaming series, maybe for Amazon Prime or Netflix.
Yes. I'm thinking of The Crown, for example.
What a great series.
Great. Absolutely great series. And, them just taking Queen Elizabeth's life and just breaking it down. And of course, some of it does have that creative liberty, but just so beautifully done. So I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there, but I do love the idea of the series too. I think that 3-part series would be amazing, but I'm excited for you about the movie.
Thank you.
Yes, please keep us posted. I will be reaching out to you. And for those of you that are looking for a place, a bed and breakfast, do visit Craig and Rebecca's. They're Bordeaux in Lodi. Yeah.
That's our new paint job. We did that last year, and we gave this old lady a new layer of makeup, so to speak, and lipstick. So there you go. It's a big, beautiful home.
And what a beautiful makeover you've done. I don't know what it looked like before, but she sure looks gorgeous now.
It looked boring. Now it looks pretty.
And then we also have Craig's information for those of you so that you could, follow him, follow his podcast, read his blog. He's at Craig D. Forrest on Instagram at Craig D. Forrest. And then of course, again,
thank you, Sonia.
Yes, she's phenomenal. And then his website is it's just craigforrest.com.
Hey, look at that. I'm famous.
You are.
Wow.
Well, you are.
I like that picture. That was taken in Paris a couple years ago.
I wondered. I could see that behind. I've been to Paris twice, and I wondered if that was Paris.
It had just rained that morning, and then there was still some soft clouds, and the rain went away. And it was, when you get perfect lighting, you might just turn out to look okay.
Well, that's a great picture.
Thank you.
Is a great, yes, absolutely. And so you have so many wonderful things that you've got, your, projects that you've got coming up, things that you've already done, your podcast, your blog. For those of you that are readers or want to learn more even about the digital world, yes, his book is called Commando Tactics for Digital Filmmakers. I personally have the book. You can get it on Amazon. Here's the thing. If you can't keep up with all of this information that we're sharing, it will be up on our website this week. So,
and you can also buy the book as an ebook, which I love ebooks because you click a couple buttons and you've got the book in 60 seconds.
Absolutely. Well, that's good to note as well. So, Craig, thank you so much. Excited for what's ahead. So grateful for all the things that you've done. And I know that there's so many wonderful things to come. So we're going to stay connected because I want to be in the know. And of course, I'm going to probably reach out to you as well regarding our little docudrama that we've got in the near future, because I just want to make sure we're doing it right. If we're going to do it, it needs to be done right. So
Amen. Amen, sister.
Amen. Well, thank you for sharing all things repurposing, digitizing, organizing, and all of the above. I didn't even get to talk about the fact that you took 3 years off from filmmaking and producing to help your wife fulfill her dream. That's a whole other episode. And
Right.
so maybe when we do one on the beauty of marriage or something like that, I may bring the both of you back on, because I just think there's something to be said about the two becoming one. And that just that hasn't left me, the fact that you shared that. I thought, wow, that's amazing. So
Yeah,
absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Give my love to Rebecca, everybody. Craig D. Forrest.
I will not only kiss her for you, I'll kiss her for me. There you go.
Hey, do it. All right. Enjoy Lodi.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Wow, my goodness. So this, once again, has been an extremely power-packed episode. If you didn't catch all of what Craig Forrest shared, please do go back, rewind. So many good things, especially for those of you that are filmmakers, that are interested in filmmaking, anything having to do with media. Be sure to check out his podcast. For those of you that love bed and breakfasting and want to do little vacations in the area, you'll want to check out Craig Forrest's website, so that you can head on over to his and his wife's Bordeaux Inn in Lodi. And then, of course, just everything he talked about for those of you that are leaders or involved in media ministry, maybe pastors or leaders. Do go back and watch what he said, even some of those live streaming tips that he gave on just how to engage with your audience and just to set yourself up for that great live stream. So thank you so much, Craig Forrest. And then for those of you that didn't or did not catch all of Grace Kladnick's interview, you're going to want to rewind even back further to the front. My goodness, just such a powerhouse woman, very humble, but just sharp as can be. All the principles and things that she shared about the local church and resourcing people and being used to meet needs, walking in your calling, walking out your calling, not going back to the way things used to be. I mean, she talked about so many things. And she's got a fun thrift shop. Love the City thrift shop in Culver City, which I'm planning on visiting tomorrow. I really am. I'm not just saying that. Yes, love the City thrift store. And so what a power-packed show. Again, thank you so much for hanging out with us. I know it's been a long episode, but well worth every minute of it. I want to thank you so much for joining us. And, we do this show for you, because of you. It's about you. It's really not about us. It's just about empowering you and resourcing you with the things that you're called to do. And we want to see you do it. And Craig, I couldn't have said it any better than what he said. He said that until you do that one thing that you're called to do, you're not going to be happy, because you're not doing that thing. And that's why A New Thing Live is here. It's to help you do that one thing. And some of you are already doing it. Maybe you need to add a new thing to that one thing. But this is why we're here. I just want to say thank you. If you don't yet subscribe to us on YouTube. Please share our channel. Do a search, A New Thing Live on YouTube. For those of you that don't yet follow us on Instagram, follow us on Instagram. We are at A New Thing Live, at A New Thing Live. Facebook, the same thing, at A New Thing. And then if you have any questions or concerns or prayer requests or ideas, and I am bringing out the fan because now I'm really hot with all of these lights, please do hit us up at hello@anewthinglive.com. Although I have been having some problems with that particular email, so I'm going to also just put it out there, anewthing.live@gmail.com. But thank you so much for being with us today. You are loved. We pray for you. We're here for you. We are in your corner. We really are excited about all the different guests that come on because we know that they're going to give and deposit something in you that you're going to say, I needed to hear that. I needed to know that. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. And again, a huge thank you to Grace Kladik and to Craig D. Forrest for being guests on tonight's episode on A New Thing Live. Have an incredible week. Remember, put your hand to the plow. Don't look back to what was yesterday because we can't change a thing about yesterday, but you can do something about today. Have an incredible week. You got this, and we'll see you next Monday night on A New Thing Live. Bye-bye.
Are you ready? Hey, help us get the word out about our new show. Subscribe today, right now, to A New Thing Live.